Well, hello there. It's been quite a minute since I visited you in this specific kind of a video format. If you've been taking a look at my past few videos on the channel, you would notice that it's filled with a lot of VODs, and there is a good reason for that. I've been lazy. Yeah, that's really about it. I've just been super lazy on actually recording and editing videos. There has been a ton of you who have been requesting videos all over the place. I've definitely noticed. Don't worry, guys. Okay, I get it. Let's do another RantER episode. I'd just like you to know, by the way, before we start actually diving into topics, that whole section took me about an hour to edit, so you guys better be thankful for that brain rot or whatever it was. So where even are we in Eternal Return right now? The last time I recorded a RantER episode was actually 2 years ago, nearly. I didn't even realize it was that much, but 2 years ago, we were sitting in pre-season 8. You can see it from the video title of the last RantER episode. I guess it's a bit of a question mark there, but yeah. December 29, 2022, pre-season 8. We are currently in post-release season 6. It has been an incredibly long time. And of course, with that, a lot of gameplay changes, a lot of mechanical changes, a lot of map changes have happened. Now, I'm not going to go into the specific intrinsics about what the actual changes were, because if you're watching a video like this, I'm going to assume to a certain degree you know what the current state of the game actually looks like. And I'm not even going to say that you probably had to watch or stay through the entire duration that the last RantER episode was based on and until now, but you should still have an idea of what the current game actually physically looks like. Instead, what I'm going to do is, if you've watched any of my previous RantER videos, then you'll know that I typically tend to give my own opinions on the topic, and then I ask you guys to comment below what your thoughts on the topic that I cover is. Today I'm going to have a couple, as you saw, maybe it was part 1. We have a couple of topics today, so I'm going to cover my own opinions on it, and then I'm going to ask you guys to comment down below what your own opinion is, so that I can see if your opinions are different than mine, or maybe it's the same as mine, in which case, it would be absolutely cool. So, back to the topic on hand. First, I'm going to talk about the mechanics of the game. Of course, if you want to talk about the state of any video game, you gotta actually talk about what's in the game, so let's talk about it. First, there have been a lot that have been added to Eternal Return ever since we started doing our RantER videos. VLS has been added, gadgets, map-wide plans, streamlined objectives, and quality of life changes off the top of my head. And if you know me, I am a very big sucker for quality of life changes. They have been doing a ton of those recently, and I'm so glad for it. But outside of the quality of life changes, as for the physical game mechanics themselves, I think there's a couple reasons as to why they have been beneficial to the state of Eternal Return. First, let's talk about the new players. A long time ago, new players had a very difficult time getting into Eternal Return because there were so many things available in the map to do that you didn't really know which one was more beneficial to you than the other. It was really difficult. It took a long time for new players to get adjusted to these kind of things, but now with these new mechanics added into the game, now new players can say, oh hey, I need to complete this mechanic or do this mechanic in order for X, Y, and Z to happen. It's much more streamlined. A lot of new players that I have taught have definitely understood that in a very short period of time. Now, it might be a limited experience for me and the people that I taught how to play Eternal Return, but they seem to be able to pick up some of these mechanics really quickly and actually understand what comes after it, which is really big. On the flip side, we can also see that veterans have been using these map-wide mechanics and game-wide mechanics extremely well. For example, in tournament and ranked gameplay, we've seen cases where white lilies or the jump plants are utilized to 1, find flanks, and 2, if you want to build off on that, people are finding ways to counter the White Lily play, which is something that is so wild to me that teams are able to do this so quickly after plans were introduced to the game. But it's the same case with a lot of these other map and game-wide mechanics as well. Veterans are able to use them extremely well and then start finding counters to them extremely quickly too. It enhances the overall macro and micro plays of veterans in both, once again, tournaments and ranked. By comparing those two categories of players, you can actually get a feel for how the middle of the pack is doing. They're understanding what these mechanics are and actually now starting to get used to them to utilize them effectively for both their macro and micro plays. That's exactly where you want them to be, the middle of the pack. They're transitioning from the new player section over into the veterans. They're exactly where they need to be. And because of that, I think overall, the mechanics that have been added since the last time I did RantER has been a net positive for the game. It's really nice because these obvious mechanics that have been added into the game, although there are so many, each of them make it easier for you to pick which path you need to take in order to succeed throughout the course of Eternal Return's game cycle. It's really nice. You know what you need to do. You know what the results of those actions are. I just love it. The second and last part that I'm going to talk about when it comes to the state of Eternal Return is the community. It definitely has grown. If you just take a look at the numbers specifically, the Steam chart that Nimble Neuron showed during the dev stream for Season 6 shows that over the course of time, it has grown after Season 2. An obvious metric on our part that we can see is that compared to when I made RantER way back in the days, ranked pops more often. That means a higher player base, which is a good thing. Another thing that I also tend to see is that new community members tend to stick around longer, which can also attribute to the fact that it feels like we have a higher player base, statistically and also feel-wise. Another thing that is really good compared to before is that we have many more resources available to players. More Discord servers have opened, a lot more streams. Now I say a lot more streams a little bit voluntarily because of the fact that of course a lot of streamers have also left the community, but at the same time new ones are popping up all over the place, which is a good thing. And another thing that I want to add to that is that access to information is a lot more open than before. Nimble Neuron definitely allows players to have a little bit more information than they used to in the past, which is really good, because in comparison to keeping it all to me and me holding it in place before Nimble Neuron releases the information almost right before something happens, I'd rather these players have information to themselves, which is something really good that Nimble Neuron is doing. Another thing is that, of course this is a personal opinion of mine, but for the most part, it feels as if the community has gotten nicer than before. I'm not entirely sure, but at least with the experience that I've had with the community as of late, continuously playing the game, it feels like it. That's a good thing, yeah. Because of all of these reasons, I think the community itself has also been a net positive to the state of Eternal Return. More players, more accessibility to resources, a lot nicer than before. Oh heck yeah, I'll take that. With those two categories being a net positive to the game, of course my own opinion on the state of Eternal Return is better than it was before. The keyword there though is better. Eternal Return is not a perfect game, actually far from it. But both the game itself and the community continues to improve as the time goes on, which is why I can confidently say that versus the last time I did RantER for pre-Season 8, the game is definitely in a better state than then. For anyone who hasn't kept up with the Eternal Return Masters lately, I got a voice pack within the game. It's actually really cool. You were able to get it as a drop by watching Season 5 Eternal Return Masters Season Finals, and it's a voice pack of me and Superior. You can actually hear both me and him in your game talking over what you do inside of the game. It's actually really cool that I managed to get the opportunity to do something like this, and that's why I wanted to take some time to really genuinely say thank you to all the people who have continuously supported me up until now to get to where I am today. As someone who just started doing some community casts here and there and maybe took some really risky opportunities to do some Nimble Neuron events at the start by doing them on my own channel, asking some staff here and there if I have permission to even co-stream the tournament to begin with. It is incredible the journey that I've been able to take to get to this point to begin with, so thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And for those of you guys who missed out on it, that's okay. If you ever ask me through Discord or maybe if I'm streaming, I have some codes that are readily available, at least while I'm uploading this video. If you ask way later down the road, then I might not have it, but I do have some codes, so please feel free to ask down in the comments below. I might be able to drop you one, or come to my Twitch channel whenever I'm streaming, or even ask me on Discord. I'll drop you a code as long as I have one. Do not worry about that. Next, I want to thank a specific group of people, and that is the scrim staff that I've been graciously working with for the past year or so. For those of you guys who also don't know, since it's been a while since I did my last preseason RantER, yeah, you guys aren't going to know a lot of things. I ended up overtaking the scrim server about a year or so ago from Circadia, who you guys might also remember because I used to cast with him a ton back then. He also goes now by Vixerius, but he left the community for the most part about a year ago too. Now, I'm not going to divulge into the reasons why, that is his personal reason, but with him leaving the community, he ended up passing the mantle of the scrim server over onto me, and I did a lot for the scrim server within the past year. I ended up taking a lot of time, personal time, to learn Google Spreadsheets because I really wanted to make sure that the entire flowchart of making scrims happen is as automatic as possible. I have had a lot of fun trying to learn Google Spreadsheets and a lot of difficulties, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, but it's been fun. It really has been fun. Even if I improve the scrim server myself, it really would not be where it is today without all the staff that I've had the pleasure with working with. These people are offering up their own times and efforts, because I don't pay them. I can't. I just don't. I can't. Right? Which means they're volunteering their own times to come and help me out, make sure that the scrims are actually running as fluid as possible. So I really want to thank all the people who are part of the journey, who are part of the process of making sure that these scrims happen. But from those list of people, I really want to isolate 3. Athena Kai, Kale Ali, as well as Chalconthite. These 3 people have been helping me for almost as long as I can remember having access to the server to begin with. That is how incredible these 3 people are. They have helped me for such a long time, and so often too. That's one of the big things that I really appreciate about them. They're always there. It's actually insane. It's to the point where I heard it on Athena's stream a couple days ago, and I thought it was funny, but it's so absolutely true. It's to the point where I sometimes have to tell Athena to stop helping and go rest. That is how often some of these people are helping me out with these scrims. So yeah, I definitely don't deserve you guys, but you guys are always there for me. I really want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really wish I could do more for you guys, but I'm just so sorry that I can't. I always look for opportunities for you guys. I always make sure that Nimbunran appreciates what you guys do for the community. So I just wanted to take some time right now to say thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. Even aside from that, continuing on from there, I mentioned all of the other scrim staff from earlier too. They're also volunteering their time and their efforts into making sure that scrims runs as smoothly as possible. They're always enthusiastic about learning things. I try my best to teach people to the best of my abilities of how scrims are going to be run. It's not a simple thing, and it's a very, very heavy time investment because when tournaments are running, it needs to be a consistent thing. So again, I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, for everybody in the scrim server. This definitely doesn't feel like a rant, but it is what it is, right? Like, I just really want to put it into words about how much I appreciate all the people that I've been working with, because they have been nothing short of fantastic. I cannot wait to work with you guys even further after this video. Let's make Season 6 great! I still can't pay you guys, but oh well. Last but not least, for our final topic of this video, it's going to be about tournaments and casts. I mentioned this on my stream a few days ago as I was waiting for a Korean scrim to happen, but we're going to be talking about a few things here, mainly the Eternal Return Masters format update, because after a long time we are finally getting a change in how it works. I'm really excited about this change, so I'll talk about it in just a moment, but before that, a couple of updates compared to before about some of the casting things that I've been doing lately. So, in the time since the last RantER episode and now, I've had the pleasure of casting a lot of different events. I still continue to cast for Nimble Neuron. I have a ton of things that I do off on the side as well, but mainly for Nimble Neuron, I have been casting Eternal Return Masters lately. And if you guys remember that specific tournament, it's over on the Korean side of things. I did ERCS for a little bit, which was the North American branch, as well as the European branch for a little bit, but they ended up getting a couple of different casters for that stuff, and they do great. It's awesome. So you guys should come and watch whenever we're doing those kind of events, but I'm mainly in charge of Eternal Return Masters. I've been doing the same event pretty much ever since I started casting. I mentioned it earlier, but I had to ask Nimble Neuron for permission to see if I can even co-cast this specific tournament. Yeah, that was the original version of Eternal Return Masters, which used to be called ERL, Eternal Return League, and ERC, Eternal Return Challengers, I think. It was either that or Champions. It's one of the two. I forget. It was such a long time ago. But Eternal Return Masters is still going strong. We just had the season finals about a month or so ago. And man, the season finals were great. I talked about it earlier too with the drops and everything, but you guys are missing out if you weren't able to watch it. I highly recommend you guys go watch the VOD for it, which should be available on the Eternal Return game channel, or even just on the YouTube channels for both the Korean one or even the English one. I think they started uploading those on the English one a bit ago, which is something that I asked Nimble Neuron, and they're actually doing it. Again, game state is great. I love it. But across the board, Eternal Return events have been really fun for me to cast. I still enjoy doing it, which is why I still do it. I think, not to boast or anything, but I think I am probably Eternal Return's longest EN caster. I can't say that for sure for the caster worldwide, because I know there are some Korean casters who are still going strong ever since the start of tournaments, quite frankly, ever. So yeah, I've been casting for quite a while, and I still will continue to cast. I love doing it. It's super fun for me, and I always watch some new stuff, and I get to meet some super cool people too. So yeah, those are some updates about casts that I've been doing as of late. Next, let's take some time to go over some of the Season 6 esports for the KR side of things. Now, I know this isn't exactly a rant, but that's okay, because I told some people on stream that I go over the new format for Eternal Return Masters, so let's just take some time to do that now while we're at it, shall we? First of all, if you were familiar with the format of Eternal Return Masters before Season 6, it went like this. Typically, there was a qualifiers. That was off-stream, at least on the English part. We didn't cover the qualifiers. And then there was a group stage based on the teams that qualified in there and the seeded teams that came from the season before. And from the group stages, we eliminate some teams. We go into the wildcard stages, which was day number 2. And from the wildcard teams, we also select teams that go to play on the finals. This time around, it's going to change. It is going to change quite a bit. In comparison to the 3 phases we had throughout the competitive season of Season 5, this time around we are going to have 2, and I will explain specifically why. Why is because this time around we're going to have a different format where we had a format like this a long time ago. Eternal Return Masters actually had a format that was similar to this that was immediately removed because I think the format was a little bit too confusing. It was definitely a lot long, which is something that players did not appreciate. I don't exactly remember the reason why we removed this format, but I personally loved it, so we're going back to a format that I genuinely enjoyed. So, this is the way that it works. The group stages right here is going to determine where in this specific knockout stage you're actually going to play. So, playing in group stages doesn't exactly relegate you from the tournament itself. By doing well in the group stages, you get to play less games, which means throughout the entire tournament itself, you have less chances to drop out of the tournament. So how is this going to work? In the first couple of days, you're going to have the group stages going up against each other. Each of the teams that are designated into a group will be playing up against each respective group throughout the course of the 2 days. And after that, based on your performance in each of the groups, you're going to be placed in the knockout stages respectively. So for example, if you go first place in each of the groups, well, not each of the groups, if you're first place in Group A, then you'll get sent straight into the finals and you don't have to play the knockout stage 1 to 6. But if you go second in your groups, then you're going to have to go into knockout stage 6 and you will have to play this day in order to be able to qualify into the finals. It's a little bit risky for you obviously to place lower in your group stages because it means that you're going to have to play more and more knockout stages to get to the final stage, but that is the nature of how this specific format is going to work. Very, very easy once you start understanding it, but the picture really makes it difficult to understand sometimes. So that is the very dumbed down version of how this format is going to work. Now, you take a look at this and you're like, Shuvi, there is a lot of things that happen throughout the course of this thing. Are you going to be able to fit it into 3 days? No, absolutely not. That is why the new format is going to look like this. We only have 2 phases instead of 3. Where each phases consist of 6 total days, excluding the qualifiers, because we're not covering that on stream for the English side of things. We have 6 days for each of the phases that are going to be covered through 2 different weeks. As you can see, for phase number 1, day 1, 2, and 3 are in the weekends of the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of January. And then the day 4s, 5, and 6 will be the weeks after that, where it's covered on the 10th of January, the 11th of January, and the 12th of January. Then there's a Super Cup that we're not going to be covering on the English side of things, and then we have phase number 2. And depending on your performance in each of the phases, you will get circuit points that let you go straight into the season finals, or you're going to be placed into the LCQ. So the whole season finals aspect is still the same as season 5 and before, but the way you get there is different. The format itself of phase 1 and phase 2 is going to be very, very different compared to season 5. As I mentioned though, I genuinely enjoy this specific format. We had it a long time ago once and we never had it again. I'm really glad that they ended up bringing it back. The main idea around this format is that they want to expand Eternal Return Esports on the Korean side of things to accommodate more teams, and they are doing that. If you take a look at this little graph above, we went from a total of 16 teams that were able to specifically play in the main stage to 32. That is absolutely bonkers. There's a lot of metrics that go into this that makes it super easy for qualifier teams to actually make it into the main stages. And I say easy, but it definitely isn't. There's a lot of things that you still have to do as a Korean team to make it to qualifiers to begin with and then continue on to the main stage. But now more teams are going to be able to play in Eternal Return Masters, which for me is absolutely amazing. Season 5 Eternal Return Masters, I saw so much new talent that actually found some extreme amount of success during the season that in season 6 with this expanded format of Eternal Return Masters, I would not be surprised if you start seeing more of that, which is good news for me, good news for you as a viewer because you get to experience some new things that are happening in Korea, and a good thing for Nimble Neuron because now you start having more data sets that you can start working with in order to make Eternal Return Masters even better than before. So that is the updated format of Eternal Return Masters going into Season 6. I hope you guys are all going to be able to be there. As I mentioned, the first day of Phase 1 is going to be on the 3rd of January, so it's upcoming extremely soon. If you watch this video and you guys want to partake in any of these phases, we will be streaming each of these days for phases, and then the season finals. So make sure you guys join in whenever you can on the Eternal Return Game Twitch channel. We'll be casting it there like always. And that's going to do it. I had a lot of fun kind of recording this video. I did a little bit of testing when it comes to editing, as you guys can tell at the start. It's been a long time since I've done something like this. It definitely took me a lot of time to try understanding what even I was doing to begin with. I lost a lot of the skills that I had trying to edit the videos. If you guys remember from episode 4, I definitely did some fun things over there. This time it was a lot more rudimentary, but it took me a while since I haven't done this in a long time, so thank you for being patient with me on this video. I also wanted to thank some people for continuously pushing the entire narrative of the fact that I never did RantER. annoying sometimes, but it definitely is true, and it's really funny for me to be able to see someone like Geb, as well as some people in my Discord server, some people in my stream saying that, oh, Shubi's never gonna record another RantER video. Oh, here you guys go, yes suckers, there you guys are. You get to have another RantER video there. See you in 5 years. Nope, nah. Don't know when the next episode will be, but yeah, I really enjoy playing the game right now. Eternal Return is definitely in a much better place than it was before. I'm thoroughly enjoying playing multiple different characters. Unfortunately, I am not a Dylan one trick anymore, but I'm enjoying playing other characters like Debbie and Marlene, Hayes, Ekion. It's a great place for me to be when it comes to Eternal Return. I want to thank all of you guys for coming back and watching Eternal Return RantER. I don't know when the next episode is going to be, as I said, but I'll try my best to see if I can get another one going. I just need to come up with topics at this point to talk about. I just can't. I'm not as creative as before, unfortunately. My brain power sucks. So please help me out, guys, by listing some topics down in the comment below, and I'll try my best to come back with another episode for you guys to watch and listen to. Thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next episode. And this lion sucked to fight. So, yeah, that's that. Have a good one, guys.